Welcome to Culture FC, the weekly soccer show that's not really about soccer. We cover fashion, culture, lifestyle, politics, etc., etc., etc. Just we don't recap scores, we don't recap news, we just talk about the things surrounding the beautiful game, just none of the stuff on the pitch. I'm Louie.
I'm Alan.
And this is not Brendan. He's missing again, which is okay. We don't hate him. But
he's not getting paid this week.
This week we had a very special guest. We had the ability to speak with Tommy Thompson of the San Jose Earthquakes.
We know Tommy through our clothing brand. We reached out to him, spoke to him earlier. So we kind of got in contact with him again, thought he had a really cool story. Another MLS player that's grown up in the U.S. and going through the system here. So we're really lucky to have him on, excited to get some of his insights on growing up within the U.S. system, U.S. national team, playing college here, and finally now playing in the MLS. So again, we'd like to thank him. It was a really cool interview. Got a lot of interesting facts about him and his family. So yeah,
family full of ballers. So it was really cool to hear about their upbringing and things like that. But so thanks again, Tommy, for coming on. And if you don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our show. If you like video, that's your thing. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube. If you're listening to us, you can find us on iTunes or Google Play. Just don't forget to give us that 5-star review. Smash the like button. Smash the subscribe button. And send us some feedback. Tell us how well we're doing, how bad we're doing. Whatever it is, just give us some feedback.
Yeah, just know everything will be left in the show notes, so you can find anything you're looking for in there. And let's get into it.
Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Culture FC, and today we have our friend Tommy Thompson on the phone. He is he plays for the San Jose Earthquakes, and we just kind of want to say hi to Tommy and
What's up, Tommy? How you doing?
What's going on? Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, no problem. We're glad you're on. Glad you could take some time out of your day to get on the podcast.
Cool, man. So basically we're just gonna. Let's jump right in, and so tell us, your origin story, like where you're from, where'd you grow up, and we'll go from there.
So I'm from Sacramento originally, which is about 2 hours from San Jose. I grew up there with two brothers and a sister, and my dad pretty much walked me through on how to become a professional soccer player. He was a professional as well. He played at Indiana University. Got drafted number 1, and then ended up playing in the Olympics. So he always knew what it took, and he did a really great job. I credit pretty much all of my youth soccer development to him, because he coached me for, I want to say it was 12 years, basically. And he also coached my two brothers. We're all a year apart, and we all ended up going professional as well. So It's a testament to what he can do as a coach, and like the type of player he makes the people that are involved with him. And so anyway, I was coached by my dad growing up, and then once I graduated from high school, it's kind of a fun fact, I graduated from high school a year early so I can go to Indiana to play with the brother that's 1 year older than me, because I wanted to go in with him as a freshman, so we could be freshmen together.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, so we were freshmen together at Indiana. Everyone thought we were twins.
That's so funny.
It's a little confusing, but he was always a year older. And then after my first season at IU, the Earthquakes, I guess I caught the Earthquakes' eye. They offered me a homegrown contract. And now I've been playing with the Quakes. Just finished up my 4th season, and I've been loving every minute of it.
So you, your older brother, and your father all went to IU?
Yeah, that's correct. And then my oldest brother went to Stanford.
Okay.
And played soccer there, and he was the only one that ended up winning a national championship. He won it.
Wow.
He won it. He was actually captain for Stanford back in 2015 when they won their first national championship.
Oh, that's awesome. So can you tell us
Actually, it might have been 2016. I'm not sure. Whatever the first one was. I think it was 2015.
Could you tell us your brothers' names, like what's the order of age?
Yeah, so I'm Tommy, and then Tanner Thompson is the one that's a year older than me, and he's playing professionally in Indiana right now for the Indy 11 and NFL. And then the oldest brother is Ty Thompson, and he's the one that won the national championship in 2015, and then he got drafted to the Earthquakes actually, and started he did a preseason with me.
Oh wow! So is he currently playing?
No, so he had such a degree from Stanford, or such a good degree from Stanford. He was ready just to pursue the real world, because the Earthquakes ended up letting him go after 3 months in preseason, and he would have had offers in the USL. I think Sacramento Republic was interested at the time, but he decided to go a different way. He was always the academic. He was always the one that was smarter than the rest of us. So he just wanted to get started on making a name for himself in the real world.
Yeah, that's cool. So kind of delving into the first part of your story, your father, U.S. men's national team player, pro player. What was that growing up like? You know, I'm sure not a lot of people have that luxury in their life, and kind of having a father who's gone through the ranks, been through it all in terms of getting to the pro level. Did you know from a very early age that you wanted to do that, and kind of what was it growing up with him?
Yeah, it was always my dream to become a professional soccer player, but I grew up in a weird time of American soccer where half the players were playing club soccer and half the players were buying into the academy system. So it was that awkward transitioning period for U.S. soccer, and I ended up not joining the academy in our area, just because I loved my dad's coaching and I loved the team that I was on, and I thought that would be best for my development. So because I didn't play for the academy growing up, well, I mean, I played for the Earthquakes Academy, but I'm talking about when I played up in Sacramento. I wasn't, I didn't get the type of exposure a lot of people probably assumed I did growing up. It wasn't until I was 17 years old till I really kind of burst on the scenes, and that was just because I played club soccer. So when I was 14, 15, 16, I didn't necessarily think that it was all going to happen. You know, I was just enjoying playing soccer, and I was enjoying playing with my teammates, and I didn't really think too much of it. I was just hoping one day I could make it happen. Then all of a sudden, when I started playing with the Earthquakes, that facilitated that whole process, because I started playing with their academy, and I did well at Generation Adidas Cup, and then after that, I started playing with the reserves consistently, and then they started having me train with the first team, and within a year, I went from training with 7 players on my club team because everyone else had quit because they weren't going to go to school for soccer. I went from training with 7 players on a random turf field up in Sacramento to then signing a first-team contract in January of 2014. So that whole year was a whirlwind. But I wouldn't say that I knew it was all coming. You know, it all happened so fast, and that's why I try to tell everybody that is trying to make it as a professional, is to not give up if you're not getting that much attention at the younger ages, because you really never know who's watching.
That's awesome. It's a testament to your work ethic and what you did to get that. So that's really good, man. I mean, it's very interesting to hear how quickly that came about. But did you know your dad? Did you think your dad was famous? Did you have this thing of oh, my dad played in the Olympics? Was that present in your household? How was that like?
Yeah. So what's crazy about my dad is he's probably the single most modest person I've ever met in my entire life. I'm still finding things out about him that he did when he was younger. So I think that was so important for my upbringing, because I never had a big head. I never thought I was going to make it. I never thought that I was, just because my dad played in the Olympics, I was going to be an automatic shoo-in for a homegrown contract in San Jose. He never flashed his resume. And so it caused us to always be hungry and to never be entitled. And, I mean, that's just a testament to, like, who my dad is as a person. So it was never really like that. It was never like, oh, man, my dad is, like, this amazing soccer player, because he didn't carry himself that way.
Yeah, that's really cool, because like I feel like a lot of people, if you go to the Olympics, you're pretty pumped and you're kind of telling everyone that at least I'd be like, oh man, I went to the Olympics, like that's a pretty cool achievement. So that's cool that he was able to like instill that humility into you and to all your brothers by kind of keeping.
Yeah, I mean I could go on all day about my dad. His story is much crazier than mine. He grew up in a small town in Minnesota, and he was actually a star football player as a running back.
Oh, wow.
And he was getting recruited to, like, Big Ten universities on full ride.
Wow.
He was like, a highly touted prospect, but he just hated football's practices. Like, he hated doing the up-downs, and he hated just standing around running through drills. And so when he was a freshman, he started to take up soccer, a freshman in high school. And then by the time he was a senior, ready to make his college decision, he quit football. And everyone in his whole town was, like, bewildered by it. They couldn't believe it, because he was this star football player, but now he's going to decide to go play soccer. And this was back in like the late 70s, where soccer wasn't even really a thing.
Right.
And then all of a sudden he went from being one of the worst players on Indiana University's soccer team to then winning a national championship under Jerry Yeagley his senior year. So like his story is insane. But yeah, that's basically who brought me up and who taught me pretty much everything I know.
That's a crazy story.
Yeah, I know.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it's funny because growing up, me and my two brothers and I were waiting on who's going to get my dad's speed. Because, like, my dad was, like, lightning quick. And, like, that's why he was able to start soccer so late. It's because he had just this unbelievable athleticism where he was benching, like, 350 pounds in high school. And he was just, like, tearing up the football field. But none of my brothers and I really got, like, the type of pace he had. But it's just funny because growing up, we were all waiting, like, oh, this is going to be the year that one of us is going to get really fast. But it just never really happened.
That's so funny. Brian, let's move along a little bit. So, like, what was college like? Like, you know, it must have been tough being 17 years old, going to college. I mean, lucky for you, you had your brother there, but what was that whole situation like?
Yeah, I mean, it was weird, but I was just, like, I'm a pretty social guy, and it wasn't too hard of a transition, just because I was fortunate enough to find my niche on the team right away. So I had a good preseason, and things were going really well, and so I ended up starting at forward. And then as soon as that happened, like, I earned a lot of the guys' respect, and it was actually a really smooth transition. And yeah, just after my first season, though, as soon as I was settled with, like, my freshman class, and when I made all the friends that I still keep in contact with, all of a sudden a whole new adventure started, because I was only at Indiana for 5 months.
Oh, wow.
So that was where the transition was a little bit more difficult. Was not really the college transition, but the professional one.
Right, and being so young, did they pick on you at all for being just so young and being the little brother kind of?
Yeah, exactly. Like a little brother is a good way to put it. Like I wouldn't say I was bullied or anything like that, but there was just a lot of things I had to learn. Like I remember I walked into the locker room the very first day in like striped dress socks and blue sandals. Like that was my first day in the locker room. It was like my first impression. You know, when you're a rookie walking in the locker room, and like I knew some of the guys already, and they kind of knew how I was, but I just never even thought about stuff. You know, I didn't care how I looked at all growing up, and nobody ever made a comment on it. But but yeah, as soon as I did that, I mean, because you want to at least like look somewhat professional when you're in a professional environment. And so there's definitely a lot I had to learn.
Oh, that's funny. So you mentioned, the transition out of college to be a little bit tougher. How was that like? So you left Indiana and you signed your homegrown contract with San Jose. So give us a run through of the early days there.
Yeah, so it was really difficult because I ended up tearing my meniscus at Indiana.
Jeez.
So yeah, so that was before the Big Ten tournament. I did my meniscus, and then I came back in 3.5 weeks. I played in 3 Big Ten tournament games.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And then we ended up winning it, and so then I played in our first NCAA tournament game. And so that's 4 games pretty quickly there. So I had a couple complications, and so I ended up going into the season hurt.
Oh, wow.
And like I said, that was really difficult because I didn't get to bond with the guys on the field, and I was a little bit of an outsider looking in at 18 years old, and that's not how you want to walk into your rookie year.
Right.
But the trainers did a great job, and I haven't had any problems since. But it took a couple months for me to come back from that. And yeah, so once June came along, I got my debut, and pretty much since then, I've felt much more at home.
It's good. So it's been 4 years that you've been at the Quakes?
Yeah, 4 years. I just finished up my 4th year.
That's awesome. So what's San Jose like in terms of like soccer culture and like what's San Jose like? Because I've never been. I've been to San Francisco, but never really, never been to San Jose.
Yeah, there's a great passion for soccer in this area, especially since we built Avaya back in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
The community's really supported us, and there's a lot of respect for soccer, and there's a lot of respect for this organization in San Jose. We sell out almost every game, and
that's good.
We have a great fan base and the ultras that sing along all game long. And every time I invite friends and family to the game, they make comments about how loud the ultras are, and they're like, "Oh man, I can't believe that die-hard fan section. I can't believe how much noise they make. They really create the atmosphere," and it's true. So it's a great place to play, and I still think. I mean, maybe I'm biased, but I think Avaya Stadium is one of the best places to play in Major League Soccer. Dave Cavill really did, and the rest of the organization did a great job building the stadium, and people have responded really well to it.
That's really cool. I mean, we love seeing kind of the growth of this ultra culture in the U.S. It's really been blowing up more and more across stadiums across the U.S. So it's cool to see that you feel it, your family feels it whenever they come to watch the games, because for us that shows that there's like true passion in a certain city for the sport.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just funny because for us, like we're right outside of Boston, and so like we've gone Revs games, and it's like maybe 7,000 people in that giant cauldron of a stadium, and it's just like it's not necessarily what you'd call like a lively atmosphere at all.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see that the rest of the country has good support.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, so you guys are based out of Austin.
Right outside of Boston, Mass.
Boston.
Oh, Boston. I thought you said Austin.
No, yeah, Boston.
Okay.
So but yeah, so then you ended up playing for Sacramento Republic, correct?
Yeah, so I debuted in Toronto in June, and then after that I went on loan to Sacramento for a couple months, and that organization helped me so much because they provided me with an atmosphere where I can play in front of 15,000 people every home game. And so they did a great job of getting me acclimated to the professional environment. And after a couple months in Sacramento, I ended up finishing the season, I think, with 7 or 8 stars, and then like 13 or something appearances, and that just really helped build momentum for the U20 cycle and the rest of my career.
That's awesome to hear, man. So like, it's just interesting to us because like, you know, Sacramento is such a relatively new team, and like to say that they have 15,000 home fans every game is insane considering, you know, they've only been around for what, a couple years.
Yeah, they started. That was their inaugural season.
Oh wow.
Back in 2014.
So there's rumors that they might be getting an MLS team soon. Do you think that they're obviously with the fans they already have now, do you think that's going to be more widely accepted there and they're going to have a really good fan base there?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a huge love for soccer in Sacramento, and there's a lot of talented soccer players coming out of that area as well. If you think of guys like Mobio Kugo, who's playing for Portland, Adam John, who's playing for Columbus, and Cam Awasa, who is at Sporting Kansas City, Connor Hallisey, who is at KC. There's a lot of guys that come out of Sacramento, so I think it'd be a great spot for a major league soccer team, especially since the organization has done so well.
So you were talking about your U20 cycle, representing the United States. What kind of a feeling did that bring to you? Were you happy with the way you were playing in the U20s, and kind of how do you see your progression in the U.S. national team with that?
Yeah, the U20 cycle is, I'd say, probably the highlight of my career so far, just because I was exposed to such new environments. Like we went to Austria, Honduras, England, all across the United States. We went everywhere. Like, you know, we went to all these different continents, and I had never really traveled like that before. So that was awesome, and I also had the opportunity to meet a lot of players who are really blowing up right now. Like guys like Matt Miazga, who signed with Chelsea.
Oh, yep.
Guys like Paul Areola.
Yep.
Who just transferred from Mexico to DC. Russell Canoes did the same. There's a lot of guys that have done really well, and I'm proud to have played with those guys because they helped my development. And just being able to train in an environment like that with the best young players in the United States only does good things for you.
For sure. And what did it feel like to put on that jersey for the first time?
Yeah, it was special. It was so special, especially that quarterfinal against Serbia, where if we would have won that, that would have been the farthest that we've made it as a country at the U20 level. And we ended up losing in PKs, which was heartbreaking. But just to be able to represent the country like that and be on the cusp of doing something that we haven't done before would have really meant a lot to me, and that's why I continue working so hard, is to have that feeling again, but hopefully with the full national team.
When you mention all these players that are doing so well and growing up and playing with the U.S. men's national team, what do you see for the outlook for the men's national team going forward? Obviously, we've had this heartbreak of not being in the World Cup, but when you get the opportunity to play with these guys and see that the level that the U.S. is producing, do you think that there is a brighter future for the men's national team?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was a huge disappointment to not qualify for the World Cup, but there's a lot of really good players coming through the ranks, and I'm excited to see what the young guys will accomplish in this January camp. I actually just wished my roommate luck, Nick Lima. I just saw him last night. He came home to finish up his laundry before he headed out, and yeah, so he'll be there, and a lot of those guys I played with at the under-20s will be there. Zach Steffen's another one that's done really well as a starting goalkeeper for the Crew.
Oh, wow.
And I'm excited. I'm excited for them. I'm excited for them to continue their development and to prove themselves on the global stage.
Yeah. It's so funny that you say that Nick Lima's your roommate. A buddy of ours, well, I saw a video on Instagram yesterday of how dirty he did this defender in a game this past year. He basically cut it behind, like, did like a cut, and the guy kept sliding. He like ran around him and still got the ball. It was just such a funny coincidence because I saw it yesterday or this morning, and I thought that's so funny.
Yeah, that was against Columbus. That was a home game against Columbus. I remember watching that. I was playing the midfield of that game, and just seeing that in live action there was unbelievable.
Can't imagine, dude.
That's a testament to his athleticism, and he's been like that ever since I played against him in U14.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Dude, I must have watched that video like 4 or 5 times because I didn't like, it didn't hit me as like what he did until like the 5th time I watched it. I was like, holy crap, man, that was amazing.
So you've been kind of mentioning all your friends and your buddies playing, but you had a pretty cool moment this year when you scored against Atlanta United in Atlanta. That must have been a pretty awesome feeling, especially in front of all those fans.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. So I'd say like that moment and the U20s were the highlights of my career, just because I'd waited so long for that. I had scored for Sacramento, and I had scored in a couple friendlies for the Earthquakes, but just to finally get that monkey off my back and score that first Major League Soccer goal was so special. And I don't know if you saw it, but you could just see the way Wando came up and hugged me, that it meant a lot to him as well. So
it was a hell of a goal too.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, it was a special moment, and I'm hoping for much more of that next year.
It was funny because when you see the highlights after you score, you just hear a bunch of boos. It's like, it almost seems kind of sad when everyone's just booing at you, but it was a hell of a goal.
Yeah, it was awesome because it was in the first 2 minutes, and I think it took the crowd by surprise.
Yeah.
And so that's what was almost so cool about it, is when I was running to the corner, it was just surreal because Shea Salinas came up, gave me a big hug, and said, "Look up, man! Like, take it all in." And it just like all of a sudden, it's just like 45,000 people, just quiet, and that was something that'll stay with me probably for the rest of my life.
Yeah, man, that's special, dude. That's special. But yeah, man, hopefully, now that you have the monkey off your back, you're just gonna, be like an unleashed animal next year.
Keep
Just start
it going.
banging in goals left and right.
Yeah, exactly. I hit the crossbar a couple of times, but I think many more are to come next year. I'm really excited about next year.
Well, good, man. We're excited for you. Well, yeah. So basically, kind of shifting focus more to like more global thing. But do you think like the MLS will ever be as big as like the NFL or the NBA? And if so, like, what do you think they have to do to get there?
I definitely think that Major League Soccer will grow to become like the other big leagues in the United States. I think it takes time. Like, if you look at how old the MLS is and how old the NFL is, you can see a huge difference. So all great leagues take time. It's the same as the European Soccer League in the like the English Premier League and La Liga. They all had their time to develop, and so I think Major League Soccer needs to continue to go in the direction they're going, and U.S. soccer is a big part of that as well, because as you can see how the country responds to a World Cup.
Yeah.
I think it's really important for us to make sure we qualify for the next one, and to continue to develop and to keep the best young players in the country. The guys like Christian Pulisic are doing things that nobody's ever done before.
Yeah.
So I think that's a testament to what this country can produce, and I'm really excited for the future. I'm really excited to be a part of it.
And you say that the owners of the Quakes did a really good job of building a new stadium, and that's gotten fans really involved with the team. Do you think that there needs to be more of that around the country? Because there are some cities you go to and there isn't that much support. And I often think that's related to there isn't that much investment. Do you think that there needs to be more investment, like as the sport keeps growing, so that people are really behind it?
Yeah, I think what's really important for the league is the infrastructure. But I think Don Garbo has done a good job of making sure that the teams that do come in the league have great places to play. Like even though Atlanta United isn't soccer specific, they're selling whatever their average was, 50,000 at one of the best NFL stadiums in the country, and that's the same as Seattle. And then on the other side of the coin, you look at Portland. Like teams like Portland or Sporting Kansas City who just have these unbelievable soccer-specific stadiums, and they have these great crowds that come to the games and make it a really intimidating place to play. So I think we're going in the right direction. I just think it's important to have these venues to where fans can enjoy the experience, where soccer is the main attraction, of course, but it's like, for example, in San Jose, it's a completely different experience coming to Avaya Stadium than it was playing at Buckshot. And my friends and my family have noticed, like, just hearing their opinions on it, I can see how much a difference the venue really makes. So I think we're definitely on the right track there as far as Major League Soccer goes.
Awesome.
Yeah, we think from just talking about it so much, there's definitely been a more thought put into soccer as a sport and kind of focusing on it and not just having it be kind of this thing where we play on different stadiums. We play on stadiums that aren't soccer specific, so it's cool to see kind of a progression in terms of that.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, like I know you're super young, you've only been in the league for 4 years, but like any idea, well, two-part question. If you could play for any club in the world that isn't the Quakes, who would you play for? And do you have any idea of what you might do once your playing days are over? I know there's like two vastly different questions, but we'll go with it.
Let's see. I'd love to play in Holland. I think that suits my playing style. So playing for a team like Ajax would be a dream of mine. But I am really happy in Major League Soccer right now. I think it's a great league to be a part of, and I think seeing us sign guys like Danny Houston, who has scored a goal against Barcelona in the Champions League, or a guy like Magnus Eriksson, who was the leading goal scorer in Sweden. Seeing guys like that come back in their prime, I think it shows how far this league has came and how it really is a destination now. Yeah,
no, absolutely. We're super excited that we're in this period now where it seems like the MLS is getting away from that, of it being kind of a retirement league where like a bunch of big name players will come just to finish off their careers, whereas players actually want to be here because it's competitive and it's an exciting league and it's full of young talent. And for the fan, for us sitting on the sideline, that's amazing. But it's cool to hear that from an actual player saying that, hey, that there are these huge leagues around the world, but I'm happy here. I think it's really awesome here.
Yeah, as of right now, I'm really content with the situation I'm in, and I feel like I have love from the fan base and love from my teammates and love from management, and so it just makes for San Jose to really feel like home to me. But down the line, if I could write my own script, I'd love to play for a team like PSV or Ajax, just because getting a taste of European soccer is something you always dream about. But as of right now, I'm happy here.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so on to the second part of the question, any idea what you may do once your playing days are over, or like, do you have any hobbies that you love outside of soccer?
Yeah, I'm heavily involved in coaching the community. I love trying to make as big of an impact as I can. And I've worked with some of the soccer clubs in the area and I run my own training company, TT Skills. To where I do private sessions or group sessions, and that's something I want to continue to build out to get to a point where hopefully I can make a living off it. But I'm planning on getting involved in coaching in some way, as well as getting my real estate license here in the next couple of years. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, and then just hopefully using the money I save from the contracts I sign in Major League Soccer, and just to hopefully continue to have that money grow and make some good investments, because both my parents are commercial real estate agents.
That's awesome. I mean, that's cool that you're so young but still thinking far in the future, because unfortunately sometimes careers do end early. So it's cool that you're kind of looking further ahead. But kind of tying that in with what you said, you received in October the humanitarian award for San Jose Earthquakes. How was that, and kind of what were some of the things you were working on in the community to receive that award?
Yeah, that was awesome. That just kind of that made me feel really appreciated, because I do a lot of work in the elementary schools in the area, where I go to a lot of different schools and tell them, make sure to remind them to eat healthy and to stay active, and to drink water, and then I show them a couple tricks, and usually they get a pretty big kick out of it. So I just try to do as much as I can whenever somebody in the front office approaches me with an opportunity. I try to make sure it works in my schedule, just because I know I'm only going to be a professional soccer player for X amount of years, and after that I want to be able to look back on my career and say I did everything I can to make the largest impact I could in the community. So to receive that award felt good. It felt really good. It made me feel like the work I've done was appreciated. So that was really nice of them.
Awesome, man. Well, congrats. I think it's really cool how much of an effort you put into working with the community. It's very commendable. So yeah, I think that we'll just kind of go into a couple of rapid fire questions. So, what's the one club that you support? What's your club?
Manchester United.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love it.
Finally, a good answer.
Yes.
Love it.
Both of us are United supporters too, which is great.
Yeah, and
Love
then
hearing that.
our other buddy's a Liverpool fan, so we get into some good arguments in here.
Who was your childhood soccer idol?
Ronaldinho.
Yes, love it. That's my all-time favorite player. So
That's
that's
actually so funny.
2 out of 2, dude. I'm loving this one.
Your current favorite player, not named Tommy Thompson.
I like Neymar.
Oh my gosh, man!
Dude,
3 out of 3.
I think we're becoming best friends. This is amazing. And then finally, what are you listening to? What's your current favorite band or musical artist? What's on your playlist?
I love to dance, so pretty much anything hip hop keeps me going.
I'm flying out there. We're gonna hang out,
Dude,
man.
we're gonna hang out.
This is too much.
That's funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I listen to a lot of hip hop. Anything with the beat keeps me going.
Yeah, that's cool.
Cool, man. Well,
I don't think anyone's gonna top your answers.
no,
for
that was
this,
amazing.
So you might be the last soccer player we have on.
Awesome.
But awesome, man. We appreciate you coming on. And, anything else you want to tell any of our listeners? Anything you want to plug?
No, I mean, that's pretty much it. I think we covered most of the bases. But yeah, I just appreciate you guys having me on here, and I appreciate the gear you've sent out. Like I said, I loved all of it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to just hopefully having a great year this year, and talking to you guys soon.
Thank
Awesome,
you, man.
man. Thank you.
We appreciate it. Best of luck.
All right, you guys have a good rest of the week.
Thank
Have a
you,
good
too.
one, man.